Hey everybody, and good Wednesday evening. It's the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. We call it Weather for Weather. Geeks, certainly no shortage of things to talk about this evening, so let's not beat around the bush. Let's get right to it. I've been talking a lot this week about extreme weather in early January being pretty common lately. Extreme warmth over the last couple of years, extreme cold in 2018, and in January of 2014 as well. Well, it was a year ago on today's date that we had a couple of surprises. We had a couple of EF1 tornadoes in the morning hours in early January on this date 1 year ago. One of these, of course, was in the Cortland and Mosquito Lake area. The other was over into northeastern parts of Mercer County. Rated EF1. This was around, I believe, 10 to 10:30 in the morning, and this was not expected. It was a very warm January day a year ago, but thunderstorms capable of producing a couple of low-end tornadoes, not something that was really all that expected at all. One thing for sure, there is absolutely zero ice on Lake Erie this year on today's date. Of course, it's been too warm for ice formation lately. On today's date, Lake Erie averages around 25% or so ice coverage. And because the lake is wide open, when you get Arctic air masses coming across the Great Lakes, and especially over Lake Erie, they can get a real boost because there's no ice to stop the evaporative process that leads to lake-enhanced and lake-effect snow. Typically, the ice coverage on Lake Erie peaks around Valentine's Day in the middle of February, then starts to decline later in February and heading into March as the sun angle continues to get higher and the days typically get a little bit warmer. Here's a time lapse from our Niles camera today. Bonafide whiteouts for a time right there. There's one. And the Niles area got a bonus snow shower or two later in the morning and towards midday. It's right there. And so this whitened the ground a couple of times in areas around the Eastwood Mall. Now, interestingly enough today, at the Youngstown Ward Airport in Vienna, I was a little bit surprised how low this number was. Half an inch, all that was recorded there. I know up towards Cortland, 2.5 inches was pretty common, and we had some higher totals elsewhere in the area as well. Wanted to highlight just a couple up in the northeastern part of Trumbull County, around Williamsfield, pretty close to the Ashtabula border, 3.2 inches. I know 3 inches was pretty common around the Hermitage area earlier today. Off toward north and west, Hiram about 2 inches, and then up into the primary snow belt, they had 3, 4, 5 inches in some spots up in parts of Geauga, Lake, and into Ashtabula County as well. Wanted to review the radar today because, yeah, this was legit whiteout conditions for a time. Right here, this is our band at 8:20 this morning that was moving through the 422 corridor in Trumbull County, impacting Sharon and Hermitage in West Middlesex, and down towards New Wilmington as well. This then continued pushing off to the south and brought some hefty amounts of snow and a pretty, I shouldn't say that. It brought pretty hefty, or I should say low visibilities. I'm trying to find the right word I want to use here. Low visibilities for a time in the 224 corridor, but it did not drop as much snow in this area as off to the north. I barely had a coating at my place in Boardman. Leslie Barrett lives in Canfield. She said she had barely a coating there as well. So even though this still looked pretty impressive as it came to the south, it weakened just enough that we did not see the 2, 3, even 3.5 inch totals that were a little more common in areas north of Interstate 80. This snow shower then moved through Columbiana, East Palestine, right around 10:15, Lisbon, Hanoverton, Guilford Lake, and then eventually down towards Calcutta, Glenmore, East Liverpool, over into Chester, around 10:45, 11 o'clock this morning. Then we were left pretty much with fairly inconsequential flurries for the rest of the afternoon, even though we did have a couple of residual snow showers through midday. Most of the afternoon, it was just scattered flurries and cold. It's 23 as of 7:20 this evening here across the area, and the wind chill was no fun. As expected today, the wind chill tumbled into the teens and then stayed there all day. The wind chill tonight will not be as much of a factor because the wind will start to diminish, but actual temperatures tonight are, of course, heading down, and this will be our coldest night of 2020 so far. You'll wake up tomorrow morning with widespread middle teens. Now, I can't rule out a few of the colder spots, especially if you've got 2.5, 3 inches of snow today. If you completely clear out in your location late tonight, and this is kind of the primary corridor for that, I wouldn't be surprised if some thermometers read 12 or 13 tomorrow morning with the good radiational cooling conditions, lighter winds, fresh snowpack, and the clouds clearing out as well. A reminder that when it gets cold, the PSI number in your tires drops For every 10-degree drop, generally as an average, 1 to 2 psi drop. So that little indicator may be coming on this evening, tonight, tomorrow morning before the warm-up gets underway. And that warm-up starts tomorrow, frigid start, but by the afternoon, as high pressure slides to the east, a southerly component of the wind will help send temperatures up to around 40, and that's just the start. Now, it is going to rain, but it's also going to be very spring-like Friday and especially Saturday. Friday, periods of rain. I don't think it rains every hour of the day, but periods of rain. Might even see some bona fide dry periods, especially south of 224. As we get into the afternoon, our in-house model here is pretty wet for the afternoon, but some of the other modeling shows some drying for a time in the afternoon, but be prepared for some wet weather from time to time. I also think our in-house model is too aggressive here with a lot of the rain on Saturday. I kind of suspect this whole system is a little bit farther to the west than the model shows. As a result, we have a higher chance of getting into enough dry weather Saturday that I think we're going to make it into record territory. The current record on Saturday is 62. I've got 65 in the forecast for the first half of the weekend. So assuming we get enough dry time on Saturday, we'll probably set a new record by a few degrees. Rainfall totals have been trending down on the modeling over the last couple of days, which is good news. As the system is tracked a little bit farther to the west, that keeps the higher rain totals off to our west towards Toledo, Lima, down into Dayton, up towards Fort Wayne as well. So I think we're probably closer to an inch to maybe an inch and a half worth of rain total between Friday and Saturday night. Not enough to cause a lot of widespread issues. I mentioned those temperatures. This is the European model, which is the warmest model, and it has us getting no problem into record territory, 62 to 65 on Saturday. Now that's the warmest model. Some of the other modeling is cooler and faster with the cold front, but I'm hedging towards the European. I think it has the better idea. Just a real quick word or two about the longer range. The atmosphere is a fluid, and one of the best ways to illustrate that is by showing the water vapor imagery. This is imagery we show you a lot during the warm weather season when we're talking about higher dew points and moisture content in the atmosphere. But even in the cold weather season, it can be useful showing, there's going to be plumes of moisture having no trouble coming north over the next week to 10 days. And that means that, it'll be an unsettled pattern. You'll see that reflected here on the Climate Prediction Center 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook, showing a lot of the country will be pretty unsettled, it looks like. As we go into next week. A lot of this is going to be rain. It's going to be just too warm, I think, for much in the way of frozen precipitation through at least the next 8 or 9 days. There are indications that as we get past like the 17th, 18th of January, it's probably not a cold pattern. I wouldn't call it cold, but less warm, more opportunities for some cold to make its way south. Yeah, I think so, after about the 17th or so. But until then, next 8 or 9 days, Indian summer continues, winter hiatus continues. The cold that visited today and will visit all night tonight into tomorrow morning will not return again until perhaps very late next week and into next weekend. All right, that'll do it for me tonight. Thanks for watching this long edition of Weather for Weather Geeks. I'll have another version of this video coming at you, same time, same place, on Thursday.